Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I am going to talk to you with a very special topic, and this is related to our emotional intelligence. A composer described those moments when his work is at its best. You yourself in a state to such a point that you feel as though you almost don't exist. I've experienced this time and again. My hand seems devoid of myself, and I have nothing to do with what is happening. I just sit there watching in a state of moment and wonderment, and it just flows out by itself. His description is remarkably similar to those of hundreds of diverse men and women, rock climbers, chess champions, surgeons, basketball players, engineers, managers, even filing clerks. When they tell of a time they could outdid themselves in some favored activity, the state they describe is called flow by Mihaly, the University of Chicago psychologist, who has collected such accounts of peak performance during 2 decades of research. Athletes know this state of grace as the zone where excellence becomes effortless. Crowd and competitors disappearing into a blissful, steady absorption in the moment. Who captured a gold medal in skiing at the 1994 Winter Olympics, said after she finished her turn at ski racing that she remembered nothing about it but being immersed in relaxation. I felt like a waterfall. Being able to enter flow is emotional intelligence at its best. Flow represents perhaps the ultimate in harnessing the emotion in the service of performance and learning. In flow, the emotions are not just contained and channeled, but positive, energized, and aligned with the task at hand. To be caught in the annal of depression or the agitation of anxiety is to be barred from flow. Jet flow, or is milder microflow, is an experience almost everyone enters from time to time, particularly when performing at their peak or stretching beyond their former limits. It is perhaps best captured by lovemaking, the merging of two into a fluidly harmonious one. Their experience is a glorious one. The hallmark of the flow is a feeling of spontaneous joy, even rapture, because flow feels so good. It is rewarding. It is a state in which people become utterly absorbed in which they are doing, paying undivided attention to the task. Their awareness merges with their action. Indeed, it interrupts flow to reflect too much on what it is happening. The very thought, I am doing this wonderfully, can break the feeling of flow. attention becomes so focused that people are aware only of the narrow range of perception related to their immediate task, losing track of time and space. A surgeon, for example, recalled a challenging operation during which he was in flow. When he completed the surgery, he noticed some rubble on the floor of the operating room and asked what had happened. He was amazed to hear that while he was so intent on the surgery part of the ceiling had covered in it hadn't noticed at all. Flow is a state of self-forgetfulness, the opposite of ruminations and worry. Instead of being lost in a nervous preoccupation, people in flow are so absorbed in the task at hand that they lose all self-consciousness, dropping the small preoccupation, health, bills, even doing well of daily life. In this sense, moments of flow are egoless. Paradoxically, people in flow exhibit a masterly control of what they are doing. Their responses perfectly attend to the changing demand of the task, and although people perform at their peak while in flow, they are unconcerned with how they are doing, with thoughts of success or failure. The sheer pleasure of the act itself is what motivates them. There are several ways to enter flow. One is to intentionally focus a sharp attention on the task at hand. A highly concentrated state is the essence of flow. There seems to be a feedback loop at the gateway to this zone. It can require considerable efforts to get calm and focused enough to begin the task. This first step takes some discipline, but once focus starts to look in it takes on a force of own, both offering relief from emotional turbulence and making the task effortless. Entry to this zone can also occur when people find a task they are skilled at and engage in it at a level that slightly taxes their ability. People seem to concentrate best when the demand on them are a bit greater than usual, and they are able to give more than usual. If there is too little demand on them, people are bored. If there is too much for them to handle, they get anxious. Flow focus in that delicate zone between boredom and anxiety. The spontaneous pleasure, grace, and effectiveness that characterize flow are incompatible when emotional hijacking, in which limbing surge capture the rest of the brain. The quality of attention in flow is relaxed yet highly focused. It is concentration very different from straining to pay attention when we are tied to board. When our focus is under siege from intrusive feelings such as anxiety or anger. Flow is a state devoid of emotional static, save for a compelling, highly motivating feeling of the mind that seems to be a byproduct of the attentional focus that is prerequisite of flow. Indeed, the classic literature of contemplative tradition describes state of absorption that are experienced as pure bliss, flow induced by nothing more than intense concentration. Watching someone in flow gives the impression that the difference difficult is easy. Peak performance appear natural and ordinary. This impression parallel what is going on within the brain, where a similar paradox is repeated. The most challenging tasks are done with a minimum expenditure of mental energy. In the flow, the brain is in a cool state. The arousal and the inhibition of the neural circuitry attuned to the demand of the moment. When people are engaged in activities that effortlessly capture and hold their attention, their brain quiet down, in the sense that there is a lessening of the cortical arousal. The discovery is remarkable, given that flow allows people to tackle the most challenging tasks in a given domain, whether people playing against a chess master or solving the complex mathematical problem. The expectation would be that such challenging tasks would require more cortical activity, not less. But the key to flow is that it occurs only within a reach of summit of ability, where skills are well rehearsed and neural circuits are most efficient. A strained concentration, focus fueled by the worry, product increased cortical activation, but the zone of flow and the optimal performance to be an oasis of the cortical efficiency. With the bare minimum mental energy expanded, the marks sense, perhaps in terms of the skill practice that allows people to get into flow. Having mastered the moves of the task, whether the physical one such as rock climbing or a mental one such as computer programming, means that the brain can be more efficient in performing them. Well-practiced moves requires much less brain efforts than do ones just being learned, or those that are still too hard. Likewise, when the brain is working less efficiently because of the fatigue or nervousness, as happens at the end of the long, stressful day, there is a blurring of the precision of the cortical efforts, with too many superfluous areas being activated. A neural state experience as being highly distracted. The same happens in the boredom, but when the brain is operating at a peak efficiency, as in flow, there is a precise relation between the active areas and the demand of the task. In this state, even hard work can seem refreshing or replenishing rather than draining. Basically, the flow is the attitude, the concentration of a brain that make people to divert them to do some excellence in their field of experience. Without flow, nothing could be given a maximum result. Flow motivate the peoples. Flow make people be ready to accomplish their tasks more better than earlier, more result oriented and than before. The flow is the mean of excellence to divert the peoples to move ahead and give their high excellence performance in the next. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.